motion for the consideration of claims?
I would move for the consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $150,348.80. Checks written for payroll liabilities for January 24th, 2014 in the amount of $218,302.81 for a total of $368,651.61.
And I will second that motion. Any questions on the bills?
I have none.
Okay, and I had one question. It was on page 4 of 12, or 4 of 11. I think. No, I'm sorry, 5 of 11 on Javiation Incorporated for $20,100.99, just an out of budget item there.
For Javiation,
Page 5 of 11.
Yeah, Your Honor, that's one where Javiation's doing a project and we didn't appropriate enough for that. It's one of those ones where we have money set aside in the prior year budget. We didn't set aside enough for this next year, and that's why it's over.
Okay. And I don't have any further questions, so all those in favor of the approval of claims say aye.
aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Is there any other business for us tonight, Mr. Weaver?
No business.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Call the February 4, 2014 regular meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. Would Councilmember Smith lead us in the pledge, please?
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the city clerk please conduct the roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilwoman Mary Ellen Christensen. Present. Councilman Rich Gard.
Here.
Councilman Jonathan Fabian.
Here.
Councilman Todd Smith.
Here.
Mayor Ron Warpness.
I'm present. Thank you. The chair would entertain, we don't have anyone that we need to excuse this evening, so I declare that we do have a quorum. The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda with the addition of an executive session regarding personnel after the candidate interviews and before the voting and announcement of appointment.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion to approve the executive session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mayor votes aye. Communication from the floor, citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that is already on the agenda will be given an opportunity
Your Honor.
to speak later on.
Point of order, I think we have to also approve the full agenda, not just that change, don't we? Or am I wrong? Yes, we do. The motion was to approve the
Oh,
executive.
for just the
Executive session, we didn't actually approve the agenda.
I got you. Okay. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Your Honor, I would move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Jonathan. Communication from the floor, citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that is already on the agenda will be given an opportunity to speak later on. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record. Is there anyone that would like to address the council at this time on an issue that is not on the agenda? Okay. At this time, we will have the interviews for vacant council seats in Ward 1 and Ward 3. The council candidate interviews will be conducted individually. Council candidates will be asked to wait in the atrium area while the interviews are being conducted. At your turn, you will be escorted into the council chamber for your 10-minute interview. When your interview is over, you will again be escorted from the council chambers until all of the interviews are over. And at the end of the interviews, you will then be asked to join the open meeting for the council selections. At this time, would all council candidates exit the council chambers? The interview of the candidates are Kyle Larson, Ward 1, Phil Lavoie, Ward 1, Betty Malicki, Ward 1, Waylon Oldman, Ward 1, John Lars Baker, Ward 3, and Martin Cannon, Ward 3. The chair would entertain a motion to convene into executive session for the personnel, considering the appointment, employment, right to practice.
I believe that's for after the interviews.
After the interviews.
Sorry.
I think you're right. Okay. At this time, we will have Kyle Larson come in for the interview.
Mayor and Council, Kyle Larson, candidate for Ward 1.
Welcome, Mr. Larson.
Thank you.
We have a few questions that we would like to ask you at this time. We have a 10-minute time period, and so I guess keep one eye on the clock and we'll be in good shape.
Very good.
Councilman Christensen, would you like to start with question number 1?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good evening, Mr. Larson.
Good evening.
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
We'll start out with this question. Tell us about yourself and why you decided to run for council.
Well, we could go the 15-minute or the 20-minute one, but since we're limited, I've decided to run because I'm interested in contributing to the community. I've lived in Riverton since 1986. I came here because of the employment with the acid plant. I'm an engineer and a chemist. I've dealt, after 95, I started my own business. I own real estate throughout the county, and I want to see Riverton to continue to be a desirable place to live. And I feel some ability to further that along.
And any more explanation on why you ran for this seat at this time?
Eric is my neighbor, and he retired, and I thought he did a good job, and so he was mindful of the constituents, the people that lived in his area, and strived to vote their desires, and I felt that I would like to continue that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Guard.
Mr. Larson, I appreciate your willingness to come and seek the seat. The question that I have is, what does it mean to you to be a public servant?
You know, that's public servant is people that serve. And I think it's got a bad rap from government in Washington. But it means to represent the best interests of those people that are in your area that you represent. It means to seek input from constituents and neighbors and friends, and do the best for them and the city of Riverton. And at the same time, being honest and attempting to make the best decision for the public. I don't think that's being done nationwide. I think it's being done here.
Thank you.
The question I have for you is, if you were appointed to the council, what do you see as the number one issue or project that the council should address or consider, and why?
Number one project in this area, I feel we're going to receive a rather large influx of people. I think we need to maintain the type of community that we are presently at. That means that we are going to need to make sure the water, the roads, safety is all at the forefront. And my reasoning behind that is we have a world-class reserve of natural gas, not coal, but natural gas that we can and will be exporting outside of the borders of Wyoming. And the closest place to live is here in Riverton. And I feel that by maintaining our standard of living allows us to live in the community that we all love.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And when you consider and look back on all of your background and all of your experience, what would you say would be the one thing that probably best qualifies you for this position?
Boy, I don't think there is a one thing. I'd like to say there's, communications, working with people, but my background has allowed me various things. I'm a mortgage broker. I work with people constantly. I work with regulations. Previously, I like to think for private industry, but in fact, I was working for the government. I was working primarily for the EPA and making sure that the company that I represented was doing the right thing voluntarily. So working and saying one thing, I guess being honest and transparent.
Thank you.
Okay. What's your general philosophy of governance? I mean, how do you feel a city council like we operate under should operate in the interest of the community? Do you have a philosophy or an idea?
I do. Sometimes it's a little outspoken. My general philosophy is to make the best decision for those which I represent. And sometimes the best decision flies in the face of other people. But I also feel that the best governance is the people governing themselves. And we do that by showing respect for all parts of the agency. We show respect for our police officers. We show respect for our council members. We show respect. And in doing so, we get the most out of the people that we represent. And being transparent. And that's the way it's been. And there's no axe to grind. There's just, you want the best for your community. You want it to be the shining star.
Okay. Is there any other comment that you would like to make regarding your candidacy?
Just that I would like to serve and help. There's a lot of areas that I see on the pages that I received this morning for budgeting items, improving airport service, roads, winterization of equipment, utilization of equipment. There's a lot of things that in 1985, 1995, 2010 that have changed, and we need to move forward and change and be a part of that. Thanks for the opportunity to apply for the honored position of councilman, and I thank you all.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Appreciate it.
Stay in the time, Todd. Sure, we did close.
She ringing in, Phil?
Phil Lavoie, council candidate for Ward 1.
Welcome, Mr. Lavoie.
Thank you. Pleased to be here.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm great.
I'll start out with the question, tell us about yourself and why you've decided to run for council.
Well, my name is Phil Lavoie. I've been living in Riverton for over 45 years. I married a girl from here. I'm from back east. I've been strongly involved all of my life in my country and civic duties and all kinds of boards and everything else. And so I am, this juncture in time, I've done about everything except be on a school board or the council. And when the position became vacant, a number of my neighbors came to me and asked me to put my name in. And I was hesitant at first, and I thought, well, I don't really want to do this, I don't think. And then I got to thinking about it more and more, and I discussed it with my wife, and I thought, yeah, I would like to do that, because I think at least try for it. I think I have a responsibility to my community. The community served me well. I've been a businessman here for lots of years, for over 4.5 decades, and the community served me well, and I think it's time for me to serve my community again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Guard.
Mr. Lavoie, thank you very much for putting in your application, and
Thank you.
appreciate it. The thing that I would like to ask is, what does it mean to you to be a public servant?
It means a great deal to me. I'm a very, very patriotic guy. I believe deeply in my country and the Constitution, and I think anytime a man or a woman can serve his country, it's a privilege. And I believe in a democratic process very deeply. I like the processes that we go through to reach our decisions, checks and balances and all of that. And I think it's so very important to me as a person to be a public servant and follow these guidelines, and rather than wah and sit by the side and say, well, I don't agree with this, and they did this and they did that, and they're stupid, and and this and that. And I just don't buy that. I think that if you have something to say, you get in there and you do the job. If you're an ordinary citizen on the floor, and if you've got a concern with the council, and I've been here before the council before with my concerns, one way or the other, and some I lost, some I won, but the council, through the democratic process, made the final decision. And I made my plea, and I think that's the way America has to work, whether it's Little Riverton or Big Detroit or wherever it is. And I think it's our duty as citizens to serve our country.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Councilman Fabian.
Thank you. If you were appointed to the council, what do you see as the number one issue or project that the council should address or pursue, and why?
I have to be quite honest with that. I was very impressed here a week or so ago. I seen the fiscal report that the council had, for the responsibility and the way that money was handled and how we came out on the audit and all that. And I was very proud of you people and the staff members here that carried that. I don't have an axe to grind. I am deeply concerned about the youth of our community, as all the other communities, and they all intermingle. And I'll give you an example about that. I travel all over the state hauling competitive sports teams from the high school and middle school to different towns to compete. And I think, children are children no matter where you go, and I think it's a good program to do that. And so they can interface with other people and go to other towns and see other parts of the region, meet people from different walks of life. And I think that's so very important. And I think working with the youth has always been a priority of mine. I was in the Boy Scouts, I was an Eagle Scout, and I was a Scoutmaster, and I Little League and Babe Ruth League, and I was one of the first coaches, helped John Hurst get the football league started for the little kids on the first year. I coached the first year, and there's just a whole plethora of things that one can do to enhance. That being said, I think if you raise a child right and teach them respect and integrity and teach them about the Constitution and how important it is and how valuable they are to the community, and I think then you have people like that will come before this podium when it's their time and ask for the privilege of serving their council.
Thank you.
Councilman Smith.
Okay. And as you look back over your background and all of your experiences in life, is there any one thing that stands out to you that you would say that would be the reason why best qualify you to serve in this position?
Well, I've done a multitude of things since I was a boy, but I think since I've been in Riverton, I worked for corporations, and I had jobs of responsibility and strong responsibilities. And then in '83, when everything went south, I got off the road to come back to Wyoming because we were raising children, and where I was, kindergarten was on split session. That was only half a day, so we came back to Wyoming, and that was over 45 years ago. And because my daughter was in school then, and that was not a bad decision. So I didn't want an executive position. I went to work out in the mines, worked out there for 11 years running heavy equipment. And when everything went south, I had to make a decision, either move or get my own job. And I had my colleagues from out there standing on the corner at Federal and Main said, we'll work for food, and I knew these guys. So, not the smartest guy in the world, so I started a dry cleaning business on the corner, and it was tough. It was really, really tough because another business opened up at the same time. That being said, my wife and I made that thing work, and we grew into 5 businesses ultimately. All of them were successful. We were in business for over 23 years in that facet of it, and with embroidery and JCPenney's and everything else. And so we earned a good reputation that way, and I think that we ran a good, honest, moral business. We had a lot of clients because there's always somebody that doesn't like you, or has beef, as with you sitting on the bench, up there. But I think that I've got good business experience. I know about payrolls. I know about raises. I know about human resources and all the other things that go along with running a business. And all this is a big business right here in the community. But it's to serve our constituency, whether it's Ward 1 or Ward 3 or Ward 2. If I represent Ward 1, I would represent them and listen to them. But on the other hand, being a council member, I think you have a responsibility to listen to the whole constituency of the town, not just your ward. So if I would run into somebody on the street that's from Ward 3 that's got a beef and recognizes me as a council person, I would darn sure listen to them too, because it's their town. I'm representing the town, not just Ward 1. Ward 1 is my facet, but that whole thing, the whole town belongs to the community. It doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the community, to people that's in the community, and pay for it.
Thank you.
What is the general philosophy that you would operate under for the governance of a community? If you had a philosophy and could verbalize it, what would
Yeah, I think, Mr. Mayor, my philosophy is to treat your office with respect, the office of the council and the office of the mayor with respect, to treat the constituency of the community with transparency and honesty, and strive to make it stronger and better. Bigger is not better, and I'm not opposed to growing forward and growing larger. There are those of us that are business people in town that would like to see things progress along, but I don't want to, I don't want to explode like a time bomb and then get stuck, with a whole lot of deprivation either. I think, so my philosophy is to work hard and take a good look at what's going to become and what your goals are for the future for the community. And those things are the responsibility of the council, along with the constituency, to take and address the council members about what they would like to see. If they want to see a certain aspect grown in one side of the community or the other, or the infrastructure of the community, I think all those things are important, and they all tie in together to serve the people of the community. And that's my whole thing, is to serve this administration as well as all the people, specifically Ward 1, but all the people of the community that affects us, even our sister community, because what we do affects everybody else.
Is there anything that you would like to add?
No, yes, there is. I feel privileged to be able to put my name into the hat, and I thank you. 3, 4, 5. Kristen said I had to count the beeps, but anyway. No, I thank you for the privilege of being interviewed, and it was an honor to be here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lavoie. We appreciate your being here.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, now we know what happens when it runs out.
I thought you were going to explode.
That made me jump.
I'm just gonna back up there in a minute. That's the beep.
That's very subtle.
This is Betty Malicki, candidate for Ward 1.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council. I am Betty Malicki. My last name is spelled Malicki. It's an American version of a Polish name, I believe, or so I've been told as I visited Poland. Why am I interested in council? Previously, I served 4 years on city council in the early 90s, and I enjoyed it very, very much. I felt that it was an experience that I never dreamt I could have. A dumb little kid growing up in North Dakota on a dryland farm, have an opportunity to serve on a city council, which to me was such a learning opportunity. To me, it was an education, and the people that I worked with and the city staff were always a pleasure to work with.
We have some questions that we would like to ask you too, if we could, Betty.
Certainly.
Councilman Christensen, would you lead off, please?
Certainly. Good evening. How are you?
Hi.
Well, I guess you can expound a little bit there on my question. Tell us about yourself and why you decided to run for council.
Well, I guess I jumped ahead of you, didn't I?
I thought
That's
you were
me,
right on.
just take charge.
You were right on.
There you go. Take charge, lady.
I thought that was great.
Okay. Normally in Ward 1, there's historically been very little interest in serving on council. And when I realized that there was a year left on Eric Heiser's term, I thought, I really miss not being involved. I'm serving on the 1% committee, and that's a very enlightening arena. I'll just throw my hat in the ring and see where it goes.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Guard.
Mrs. Malicki, thank you for applying. Appreciate that. The question that they have me asking tonight is, what does it mean to you to be a public servant?
To me, it means serving in a position where you are beholden, or you must answer to the public. The decisions that you make must be made with integrity, honesty. You are entrusted with taxpayers' money. You must make sound fiscal decisions in regard to that. That's what it means to me to be a public servant. To do to the best of my ability to serve the public, to listen to their concerns and try to come up with resolutions that benefit the majority of the citizens of Riverton.
Thank you.
Councilman Fabian.
Thank you, Mayor. The question I'd like to ask is, if you were appointed to the council, what do you see as the number one issue or project that the council should address or pursue, and why?
I really have no, quote, axes to grind. There are many, many issues, and all I can say is I don't have a favorite one. I will just devote my time and attention, do my homework, and try to make good, honest decisions. Keeping the responsibility, integrity, and honesty always on the forefront.
Okay. Councilman Smith.
As you consider your background and all of your past experience, what would be one thing that you would say probably best qualifies you or prepared you to take this position at this time?
Well, if I go through my background, as you can tell, it's very lengthy and very long. You would all be bored. But I think that perhaps many of you are familiar with Amoco Production, which was a major oil company. And I was a clerk in that company. And they afforded me an opportunity to train in every position in the company so that I could serve in the accounting department. I could relieve the secretary. I could relieve the mail girl, so that when a employee went on vacation, there, which may be 2-3 weeks, or some of the employees even had 4 weeks vacation, there wasn't a void in that particular department. And I think that is one experience that has prepared me in many, many ways. Being a housewife and a mother, I've raised 4 children. That's a real sturdy job. The hardest one that you can ever contract for. And I believe my 4 prior years on city council has prepared me for your upcoming budget sessions, which is always a difficult period, and the ongoing, I understand your enterprise funds and how they operate, and I just feel that I have some things to contribute if you so desire.
Thank you.
What's your general philosophy for the operation or governance of a community? If you were to verbalize, what would be your philosophy?
My philosophy regarding this community is to be a part of government that makes very, very sound decisions, prepares for the future in growth, and has orderly growth structures in your building codes, etc., so that things don't become a hodgepodge and out of control. And I guess my philosophy is just kind of like it's always been. I feel like I will try to do the best job I know how for the community, and this is a lovely community. We came here in 1959 with the oil industry. My family was raised here. This community has offered myself, my husband, and my family so many opportunities that I just feel that I have the time. Why not give it back?
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add that you haven't had the opportunity to speak about to this point?
I don't think so. You've heard me rattle on long enough, haven't you?
Okay. Right. Well, thank you very much, Ms.
Thank
Malecki.
you.
We appreciate your applying.
Not that I'm rapping.
This is Waylon Oldman, candidate for Ward 1.
Okay. Welcome this evening, Mr. Oldman. We have a few questions that we'd like to ask you this evening. Councilman Christensen.
Thank you, Your Honor. Nice to see you, Mr. Oldman. The first question is, tell us about yourself and why you decided to run for council.
Well, I'm a member of the Northern Arapaho tribe. I've lived in Ward 1 since August of 2012. And I guess I decided to run because of some of the people, I talked to. They felt that they weren't being heard. And there was a few other reasons, but I prefer not to bring those up. But I think the biggest thing was my son. I want my son to, be proud to grow up here, so that when he sorry, but I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. But one of the other reasons is I think that a lot more could be done for the youth, and also I guess finally I would like to see an event center or something. So.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Guard.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Oldman, it's a pleasure to have you here. I appreciate you applying for the position. The question that they've asked me to ask you tonight is, what does it mean to be a public servant to you?
What it means to me is being a public servant is being honest with the people, being open, I guess. Transparency is a big one. That's pretty much about it.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Councilman Fabian.
Thank you, Mayor. Question I'd like to ask is, if you were appointed to the council, what do you see as the number one issue or the number one project that the council should address or pursue, and why?
One of the biggest things I think is I'm just trying to think, because I know there's a few issues that I've seen that I just honestly I think they're all important, but if I had to pick one thing, I don't really think I can pick just one thing, because like I said, I believe they're all important, and quite frankly, I don't think it would be up to myself. I think it would be up to the people who I would represent and what they thought was major issue.
Thank you.
Councilman Smith.
As you look back on all of your background and all of your experience in life, what would you say would be one thing that probably best qualifies you to take this position at this point in time?
I was raised by a single mother and my grandmother, who have always taught me that honesty was first and foremost in anything that you do. And if you're really passionate about something, then you don't keep quiet about it.
What is your general philosophy, or would be your general philosophy of governance for our community? Are you able to verbalize that? You know.
Once again, I think it would be most importantly, it would be listening to the people. Because like I said, you're not here for yourself. You're supposed to be here for the people. And once you stop listening to the people, then it's not. I'm trying to stay here. It defeats the whole purpose of your position. That's pretty much what it means to me.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add this evening that we haven't covered, or?
Actually, I was trying to cheat, but I noticed my letter didn't make it into the packet.
Oh.
So I was, no, I have nothing to say right now.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming this evening. We really appreciate it.
All right.
Waylon.
I'll probably remember later, but not right now.
Okay.
This is John Lars Baker, candidate for Ward 3.
Okay.
Hello.
Welcome, Mr. Baker.
Thank you.
We have a few questions for you this evening.
Go ahead.
Okay. Councilman Christensen, would you lead off?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good evening.
Good evening.
The first question is, tell us about yourself and why you decided to run for council.
Well, I've lived in Riverton for about 8 years is all, inside the city limits. Prior to that, I lived outside of town. And so we moved here in 1975, and I went to work for the Weed and Pest District, and just recently retired from that position. And prior to that, I lived in Montana and Wyoming, born in Wyoming. Was a police officer for 7 years. I worked as a deputy sheriff in Laramie. Then we moved to Montana, and I worked for the Polson Police Department. And then we moved to Missoula, and I worked for the University of Montana there as a police officer. And there were a lot of things I liked about law enforcement, and there were a lot of things I didn't. And one of those was working nights. And so I started looking for work where I didn't have to work at night. And Weed and Pest came along, and that looked like a good job. And so we moved here to Riverton, and never been sorry. We've enjoyed living here in Riverton and raised our kids here, and Riverton's been good to our family. And so when I moved into town and had an opportunity to serve the community in some capacity,
I thought, well, I could go ahead and do that. And so there was a vacancy on the council, and I got appointed to that position. And I served for 2 years, about 2 years, and then I ran for re-election and got reelected. And then a year ago, I thought, well, I'll do it again. And so I ran for re-election and got reelected. But in order to retire from the Wheaton Pest District, I had to resign from city council. So that's state law required me to do that, and I didn't like it, but that's what I did. So I'm here to reapply for my seat over there to see if I could get back on the council and at least finish out my term. But now I see that I still have to be reelected for a 2-year term. So if I go for reelection this summer, then that'd allow me to finish that term out.
Thank you.
You bet.
Councilman Guard.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Baker, for your willingness to apply. The question that they've assigned me tonight is, what does it mean to you to be a public servant?
Well, I think that, well, I've been a public servant my entire life. That's what I've done. And I guess public policy, the whole idea behind it is that we band together to accomplish things as a group that we couldn't accomplish by ourselves. And so there's certain kinds of things that lend themselves to that, like law enforcement, city water and sewer. I thoroughly enjoy city water and sewer after having been on a well and a septic system for 20-some years. I love the amenities that the community provides, and I lived in the country because I thought I could do a better job, and I can't. So public service is providing service to the general public, doing those things which individually we find very difficult, but collectively we can do together easily.
Thank you.
Councilman Fabian.
Thank you, Mayor. If you were appointed to the council, what do you see as the #1 issue or project that the council should consider or address, and why?
Wow. I think that the council needs to be really busy about making sure that the projects that we have going continue to go. That the things that I'm thinking about Job Corps, that looks like it's on track, but it took a long time to get it moving. And I think it'll take a while before we're really done with that, to get an operating company in place. And then the thought has always struck me that the city of Riverton will wind up having to respond to that additional 100 families in some way. Now, a lot of those guys will live outside of town, but there'll be quite a few people who will live inside of Riverton that want to live inside of Riverton, and so we need the housing, the infrastructure, the roads in order to support that additional influx of people. The other thing that I think that we've started on, and we need to be very careful the way we continue to operate that, and that is the 1-cent sales tax money that we have for street improvements. And so I think we need to be really careful the way we spend those dollars. So as a council, I mean, we've got a committee that's in charge of that. But at the same time, I think the council has to be assured that the way that money is being spent is appropriate.
Thank you.
Councilman Smith.
As you look back on your background and all of your experience in life, what would you say is the one thing that probably best qualifies you to serve in this position at this time?
Well, I guess what makes me effective here is the fact that I spent 38 years working for the Wheaton Pest District, which is another public entity, and I was the chief budget officer and the chief executive officer, and so I understand the public process. So if one thing that qualifies me, it's my experience in that regard. But part of that is, while I was working for the Wheaton Pest, I spent 6 years taking coursework with the University of Wyoming and got a master's degree in public administration. And so I've got some education that goes along with that. But it was interesting to to tie the educational part to what I did every day and find out that they went down the same track.
Thank you. What's your general philosophy that you operate under for the governance of a community? How would you verbalize that, Mr. Baker?
Well, I think that there's some things, I think I kind of touched on that earlier. There are some things that a community can do better than a single individual can do for himself. I think those are the things that the city needs to be involved in. Good streets, sewer system, garbage, sanitation, police protection, fire protection. Those are the kinds of things that we can band together and do a really good job on, okay? There's a lot of other things that come along the line that people feel that government should do for them, and I'm not sure that that's correct. I think we collect a lot of money in taxes, and that is public money, and I believe that the public money should be spent on public purposes. In other words, it needs to be spread out enough to where the most people benefit from that expenditure. So a lot of people pay into the tax system. It shouldn't be something that only benefits a few. So streets, everybody drives on the street. Okay. Sanitation is a terrific example of that, where we pick up everybody's garbage and dispose of it in a good, safe way. Okay, simply eliminates all kinds of problems associated with disease, that other nations, simply because they don't deal with trash the same way, are plagued with. And so I think there's things that we have done, that we do as a community, that work really, really well. And so those are the things I think we should focus on. Governance should be to provide the greatest benefit to the greatest number of people, and do it as inexpensively as we can. I guess if it's not, that doesn't say I'm for small government, does it? I'm not sure that I'm for tiny government, but I am for efficient, effective government, and it needs to be directed at the greatest good for the greatest number of people.
Is there anything else you would like to add that you haven't had the opportunity to cover this evening?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming this evening. We appreciate it.
This is Martin Canan, candidate for Ward 3.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Cannon.
Sir.
The council has a few questions for you. Councilman Christensen, would you lead off, please?
Thank you. Good evening. How are you?
Yep. Okay.
We'll start out with, could you tell me about yourself and why you decided to run for council?
Well, I'll give you a little bit of my background. I'm originally from upstate New York, where I grew up and was raised. I have a Bachelor of Science degree from the State University of New York, College of Forestry at Syracuse University. That's where I went through ROTC and got commissioned as a second lieutenant there in the Air Force. Since that time, I received a master's in business administration from the University of North Dakota during my Air Force career. And mainly in my Air Force career was a specialist in nuclear command and control. Started out in ground missiles, ICBMs in Grand Forks, and then progressed into airborne command and control systems. Spent 27 years in the military. Enjoyed my time immensely. I would have done it again the very next day if they had let me. Retired in 2003 and settled here in Riverton. Since that time, I've worked for 5 years out at the Wyoming on a farm as a correctional officer, and currently I'm working as a security officer up at the Social Security office. My reasons for running for city council or trying to be appointed to city council is that I do enjoy living in Riverton. I think Riverton's a great place to live, but I think just like everybody else, it can be better. and I think the city council is the impetus, the place to kickstart that and to make Riverton a better place to live. And I just want to be a part of that process.
Thank you.
Councilman Guard.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Cannon, I appreciate your effort to come and apply for the position. And the question that they have me asking tonight is what's it mean to you to be a public servant?
Well, sir, I think being a public servant is making yourself accountable to the people of Riverton. Basically, the people that have hired you to look out for their best interests. You know, if the people of Riverton could vote and review every issue that was in front of them, every budget issue, every project that was going on, they wouldn't need a city council. They'd be doing that job themselves, but they can't. So eventually, they have elected officials that they put their trust in to do to look over their best interest. And I think that's what being a public servant is, doing the very best you can, look out for their public interests, and putting their best interests forward, making Riverton a better place to live and a better place to grow.
Thank you.
Councilman Fabian.
Thank you, Mayor. If you were appointed to the council, what do you see as the number one issue or project that the council should address or pursue, and why?
I think the number one project that I could see at the present time, you know, I know the big issues that we have ongoing right now are, you know, the 1% tax that was going to improve our roads and get those things going. But I'll be honest with you, I think the thing I would like to see is, I guess, more things for our young people to do, and even more things for our adults to do. You know, I guess I don't feel that Riverton has those things to offer people when they want to go out at night and just sit down with friends someplace and talk and discuss and just shoot the breeze. I don't think our young folks, you know, have the opportunity. You know, they have the high school type activities, but again, I think there's a lot of things that we can do to improve Riverton in those couple of directions.
Councilman Smith.
So if you look back on your background and all of your experience in life, what would you say would be the one thing that probably best qualifies you to serve in this position at this time?
You know, I think over my military career, because again, that's what I've done almost my entire life. So again, I think, you know, if you want me to pick a specific job out of my military career, I would probably say as a mission commander on board the Airborne Command Post. You had to be accountable, not only to yourself, because you flew with a general or a flag officer all the time. You had to be accountable for your crew. Had to be able to analyze a variety of situations, prioritize them, ask the right questions to get to the bottom of those issues so that you could come up with a solution and present those. Basically, you know, when you're dealing with, and you know, in my case, you know, when we were dealing with nuclear command and control orders, you didn't have any room for error. You know, you had to be able to do the right thing and make that thing happen.
Okay, thank you.
What would be your general philosophy that you would operate under for the governance of a community like ours?
You know, sir, I think the best thing that I can tell you out there is that to do the right thing for the community, whether it's the best thing for yourself, whether it's the best thing for the city council, or even whether it's the best thing for your ward, I think you have to have you do the best thing for the community, whether it's the popular thing to do or whether it's not the popular thing to do. Basically, because I feel that, you know, good government is not the responsibility of my elected officials. You know, good government is the responsibility of the entire community. The entire community has to get involved to make things work. So again, I think that's part of the thing that the city council needs to do is you get, you know, the opinion, you get the input from the entire community to help you make the judgments on those various issues.
Okay. Are there any other comments you would like to make that you haven't had a chance to address this evening?
No, sir. Just would like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity and giving me the chance to put my name in.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
thought I'd wait till they come in. I'd just like to say at this time, I really appreciate all of the candidates coming. You've made our selection difficult because we just have outstanding candidates across the board. And I think that says a lot for our community that we've got citizens that are willing to step up and put forward their time and expertise and whatnot to come and help us. We really appreciate that. So if you're not selected, I don't feel that you were slighted in any way. There'll be another election down the road, and I encourage you to give it another shot as well. Having been on several campaigns that were unsuccessful, I can speak with authority on that issue. So Bob Peck told me one time after I lost for county commissioners, he says, well, Ron, don't you know you're supposed to run unopposed? And so I didn't realize that at the time, I guess. So at any rate, thank you all for coming this evening. It was really, really appreciated. The chair would entertain a motion at this time to convene into executive session for the purpose of personnel, considering the appointment, employment, right to practice, dismissal, complaints, or charges against a public officer, professional person, or employee in accordance with Wyoming Statute 16-4-405 AII, and for the purpose of considering offers, tendering wages, salaries, benefits, or terms of employment during negotiations in accordance with Wyoming Statute 16-4-405AX.
Your Honor, I would make the motion to adjourn into executive session for the discussion of personnel.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Mayor votes aye. Into regular session.
Your Honor, I'd make the motion to reconvene.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, I think at this time we are going through the voting process. Would the council members please make their selection on the ballots provided? And Chief Broadhead and Mr. Weaver, I think, will collect the ballots and recess to the executive room to count the ballots. So at this time, make your selection.
Check the game. See who's playing.
I prefer to check counties or Facebook. You want to have your pulse on what's going on. Watch Facebook when County 10 posts something.
I don't even have that ability.
Very exciting for the Olympics.
All right, Your Honor. For Ward 1, it's Kyle Larson. For Ward 3, it's Martin Cannon.
Okay, thank you. So Kyle Larson, congratulations. Has been selected and appointed to the council, and the chair would entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Kyle Larson to council seat Ward 1.
Your Honor, I would make the motion to approve the appointment of Kyle Larson to Ward 1.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Mayor votes aye. Okay, as far as Ward 3 is concerned, Martin Cannon has been selected to be appointed to council seat Ward 3. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Martin to council seat Ward 3. Congratulations, Martin. Chair would entertain a motion to that effect.
Your Honor, I'd make the motion to seat Mr. Cannon as Ward 3 representative to the Riverton City Council.
Okay,
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mayor votes aye. Okay. At this time, we will, if Mr. Larson and Mr. Cannon would please come to the podium, we'll take the oath of office at this time. This is our instructions. Please raise your right hand and state your name.
Kyle Larson,
I, Martin Canaan,
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support,
I do solemnly swear that I will support,
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States,
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of Wyoming,
Constitution of the State of Wyoming,
that I have not knowingly violated any law related to my election or appointment,
that I have not knowingly violated any law related to my election or appointment,
or caused it to be done by others, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
thank you.
If you gentlemen would take one of the council seats up there, we will
Start right now.
Some neighbors.
I know, neighbors.
Well, now you're not alone
I
anymore.
know it. Thank you.
Okay. And that's the big part of the evening's excitement. Would the city clerk please read the consent agenda items by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, January 21st, 2014 regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, February 4th, 2014 Finance Committee meeting. Approval of Finance Committee recommendations for February 4th, 2014. Approval of the municipal court report for the month of January 2014. Catering permit application was received from the back bar for February 28th, 2014 for an NRA banquet at the Armory from 3 p.m. to 11:45 p.m. And a malt beverage permit application was received from St. Margaret's School March 15, 2014 for a dinner dance fundraiser at St. Margaret's Gym from 6 to 9 p.m.
Your Honor,
Are there any? Yes.
it's the recommendation of the Finance Committee for the approval of claims to be paid in the amount of $150,348.80. Checks written for payroll liabilities for January 24th, 2014 in the amount of $218,302.81 for a total of $368,651.61.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion regarding the consent agenda.
Your Honor, I would move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Mayor votes aye. Agenda item number 9 is a public hearing and first reading on ordinance number 14-002, rezone 1415 West Monroe. Community Development Director's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. This is a parcel that is owned by Mike and Melanie Garden. It's located on West Monroe, west of Wellington Court in the Ryan Park addition. This parcel contains 1.63 acres and at this time is zoned BGA. Part of this parcel is will be platted at a later date and will remain BGA. The petitioner is requesting that the balance of the parcel be rezoned to I-1, a light industrial district, to allow for storage units and commercial office. Property to the northwest of this parcel along Major Avenue is already currently I-1. There's an electrical substation, which is an industrial use that borders this guard property on the west, is in the county. And the property to the north is also in the county, but is scheduled to be annexed in the near future. The county property will be zoned I-1 after annexation, as it's currently being used for industrial purposes. The master plan designates this area as existing agricultural area, and it doesn't necessarily tell what it should be used for in the future. The existing industrial area to the northwest is shown as industrial on the future land use plan. The Riverton Planning Commission conducted a public hearing for this zoning procedure January 23rd. We did send out notifications to the surrounding property owners and a sign was posted. We didn't receive any comments, and no one at the attendance at the public hearing opposed the rezone. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of the rezone as presented.
Okay. Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I will be abstaining from this vote since I'm attached to the property.
Okay. The chair would entertain a motion for the public hearing.
Your Honor, I would move to open public hearing.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor votes aye. I now declare the public hearing is open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address this public hearing?
Seeing none, Your Honor, I would move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I now declare the public hearing closed. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 14-002 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 14-002, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the city of Riverton, Wyoming, designating the rezone of a portion of 1415 West Monroe Avenue, city of Riverton, Fremont County, Wyoming, from BGA residential district to I-1 light industrial district.
The chair would entertain a motion for the consideration of ordinance number 14-002.
Your Honor, I would make the motion to approve ordinance 14-002 on first reading.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Mayor votes aye. Agenda item number 10, public hearing and first reading of ordinance number 14-003, West Main Sign Ordinance Revision. Community Development Director's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. There was some concern that if signs are allowed to project to the extent allowed per our existing codes of the International Building Code, then signs would encroach upon the Main Street improvement light fixtures and would detract from the appearance of the street. So we had many discussions with the Planning Commission to try to decide what we could do with that. We reviewed the existing signs on Main Street and discussed them. We did a lot of measuring and planning, and we developed an ordinance that we felt would address this issue and would not allow the signs then, future signs that would be put up so that they would not encroach within the area where the decorative lighting is. The Planning Commission did at one time want to put in the ordinance wording that would be some more exact dimensions, but we found out that there are no exact dimensions on the light fixtures, the luminaires, the decorative luminaires on Main Street. There's no standard dimension from the curb to the fixtures nor from the buildings to the fixtures because the buildings do vary quite a bit. So we did do some wording that is similar to our codes, and we feel that it would give us the ability to maintain some control over the appearance of our Main Street with regard to signage. After some discussion, the Planning Commission recommended the proposed revisions to the existing sign code on January 23rd. The ordinance has been prepared for review.
Okay. Thank you. Chair would entertain a motion for the public hearing.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion to open public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Mayor votes aye. I now declare the public hearing is open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak regarding this issue?
Seeing none, Your Honor, I would move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 14-003 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 14-003, an ordinance amending Title 17 zoning, Chapter 17.22 signs, to revise Section 17.22.80, sign locations of the Riverton Municipal Code and repealing our ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
The chair would entertain a motion for the consideration of ordinance 14-003.
Your Honor, I would move to approve proposed ordinance number 14-003.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
just one
Councilman
question
Smith.
on this ordinance. Does this change affect any current businesses on Main Street that would have to change signage, or would they be all grandfathered in if there's any
Yes,
issues?
that's my understanding. Is that not correct?
That's correct. Pre-existing non-conforming use.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Yes. Councilman Fabian.
are there currently any signs that would be in violation of this that you know of?
There are currently signs on Main Street that are in violation of most of the codes, but they were put there a lot of years ago. And
Okay.
those are allowed to stay. Anytime they would make major revision to them, then they would have to go to the current code.
Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes.
what is there no exact projection out because they're all different? How are you going to handle that?
That's correct. What we put in the code, and I'm going to just try to remember exactly, what we did is we put that the signs could not project to any further than the closest edge of the luminaire from the building, from the property line. So that means it wouldn't, and then they added in, so someone couldn't interpret it to mean if you were between luminaires, you could go out there, we said, or a line from one luminaire, the closest edge of each luminaire to the next luminaire. So if you ran a line to the closest edge of the lights to the building, all the way along there, that's as far as the signs could project out and be a little more consistent that way. And there's, I mean, and people don't have to project out that far. They just can't project out any further than that.
Can't go any further than that. Kusel's, their awning was in place, and their luminaires only have one half of the lights.
Exactly.
And I think that this is a real problem. I can understand the plight of the business owner that owns store frontage and has invested hundreds of thousands of dollars to have it there, and not able to get his signage out so that they can be found. And so, I think it's to keep a vitalized Main Street, we need to be real careful and open to their suggestions. I know that Mustang Music, we did work for them, and they approached the mayor and others about possibly putting a different statue or something in place of their tree that was covering up their sign. And so, I do know that that's a problem, and people have invested a lot of money in that. So I would want to give their choices some heed. I think ultimately we want those businesses to be successful on Main Street and to thrive and not struggle. And a great part of that is their signage. So I would walk real gently on this. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? This was an issue that I brought forward. I have a building on Main Street, and I've talked about it a number of times, so I feel a little uncomfortable rehashing it. So, but it was something that I was just concerned about protecting the Main Street that we have. I agree 100% with Councilman Guard that when you have a lot invested in a business on Main Street, and but in an effort to get business there, if there are no rules or guidelines or anything, you may put up a sign that the entire community has to live with for the next 20 years if there are no guidelines. And that was what I was running into, that on my building on Main Street, why the business that was renting from me had received from the city a building permit to put a sign that extended well past the luminaires. And if I hadn't happened to be there and stopped them and said, well, you may have a building permit, but you don't have the permit or the permission of the property owner to do that, we would have a sign that sticks out 9 feet from the face of the building, and it will be there for the duration. And I just think that we've got a beautiful Main Street now. We want to be sensitive to the needs of our businesses and their advertising, as you've talked about with the music store. But I also think that we need to protect our Main Street, the look of it, and whatnot, and not just allow anyone to put any kind of a sign up. And that's pretty much the way that it was before. So I'm very strongly in favor of this ordinance, and hope that it does pass. So. Okay, we have a motion and a second at this time. Is there any other discussion anyone would like to make?
Your Honor?
Yes, Councilman Fabian.
Just a point of clarification. This would be a first reading, so this
That's
will
correct.
have to be read twice more. So if there are Main Street business owners that would like to come and address the council, they'll have adequate opportunity to do so.
When we encourage them to come and express those concerns, you bet.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments? Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Mayor votes aye. Agenda item number 11, Airport Board recommendation of professional consultant for 5 years. Acting Public Service Director's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The FFA requires that the city go out for engineering selection every 5 years. In the city advertised for statement of qualifications in the Riverton Ranger Star, the Casper Star, and the Denver Post on December 26th, the 29th, and January 2nd and 5th. We received 4 statement of qualifications from the SAGE Civil Engineering, GDA Engineers, Javiation, and Western Research and Development. The airport managers selected a group of 6 individuals including city staff and airport board members, to look over the SOQs and rank them from 1 to 4. Javiation was ranked at the top. They are currently the consultant that has worked for the city for the past 5 years. They were really the only ones that had any commercial airport experience, and they're very familiar with our current improvements and capital improvement projects that we are going forward at the airport. The airport board met on January 24th, and the motion was made to recommend to the council that they hire Javiation for the airport engineering consulting for the next 5 years.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion regarding the airport board recommendation.
Your Honor, I would move to recommend Javiation for the airport engineering consulting company.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman Guard.
This comes to mind only because I've been on the airport board, and they do a wonderful job, these guys. But how do the other 3 ever get any experience if they don't ever get the job? And I guess my other question is, was cost considered? Was Javiation still the lowest, or did they hit in the cost proposal?
Your Honor, as part of the selection, they cannot consider cost. It is based on qualifications only.
That is correct. I apologize for that question. I still stay with my initial thought that if, and they're a wonderful firm. They're out of Denver, Colorado, and they do a wonderful job. I just wonder how these other 3 ever get the job. Thank you.
That was my initial reaction when I looked at we've got 3 Wyoming firms, and so we're picking the one from Denver, and it just doesn't feel right, and yet as Ms. Wilhelm has pointed out, we're obligated to go with the highest qualified firm, is my understanding, and the cost to the city is negligible, as FAA entitlements pay for the funds, is my understanding. And so, but we still do everything we can to shop local and, send as much business possible to our local businesses. And I share that concern, but I'm not sure how to get around it. So.
Your Honor, I'd like to address that too, because that was a concern of mine, and it's always been my concern, and Courtney can attest to my frustrations with that. But the issue when it comes down to the difference between a GA or airport and a commercial is very significant, and we have so much going on in our airport right now with the different projects that when you have only one person assigned some of these consultants only had one person assigned to do all the work. Javiation has a team of people. It's hard to really compare, even though I would have preferred, I was hoping we were going to get someone locally or here in Wyoming that we could award that to, but and it was unanimous. All the people that sat, it was both city staff and people on airport board, and they were all, Javiation was number 1, and everyone's.
Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman Smith.
Just a point of clarification on the selection of that. I guess a couple of questions on the recommendation. There's no alternative recommendations. We don't have any other options. Are we required to go with this recommendation?
I think we're required to have an organization represent us, and that's the discussion that we're having now.
Correct, but I heard earlier that we were required to go with what was considered the most qualified company. So my question is, were the other 3 companies determined not to be qualified to handle our airport? Or just Javiation rose to the top of those 4?
Your Honor, I think the council is not obligated to take the staff's recommendation on that. I think it's a little dicey in the fact that we put advertisements saying this is statements of qualifications, and we rank these all based on qualifications. If one of those was because you're a Wyoming preference, then we didn't have that as a part of it. So I don't think that'd be a fair statement to say we're going to do it just based on that you're from Wyoming or local. It really has to be based on qualifications. So if the council wanted to pick another one, they could. I guess there was justifications for doing so, that they very well could do that.
I see our attorney shaking his head no, so that makes me a little nervous.
Your Honor, this is actually FAA, and there's a guideline on how you select this firm, and because it is federal money, you cannot select it by being a Wyoming-based firm. It has to be on qualifications, and they have specific guidelines. They have, I think, 5 or 6. Do they meet this? Do they meet this? And, the other ones they met some of them, but they were just less qualified. Aviation did really raise to the top with being the most qualified.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second at this time. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor votes aye. Resolution number 1287, fiscal year 13-14 budget amendment, city clerk's report. Chair would I'm sorry. City
Your Honor,
clerk's
I think
report,
I'm going to
please.
do that. I'm going to do the report. This is our 2013-14 budget amendment that we do usually in the middle of the year. Pursuant to Wyoming State Statute 16.4, 108 through 112, the city may adjust the annual budget with the use of unencumbered or unexpended appropriations by transferring funds from one fund, department, or account to another. And before I get started, I'd like to thank Courtney and Gloria for all their hard work in this budget amendment. Staff does not take this lightly. I mean, we put a lot of effort into this in meetings and time dedicated to this budget amendment. Staff has attached 3 items to the report in order for the council to have a transparent perspective regarding our recommendations. The first attached item is a summary of budget adjustments necessary to bring the budget into line with what has been happening since the start of the fiscal year. Staff has added explanations next to each line to provide some additional clarification. Second is a spreadsheet outlining the progress on current capital projects. And third is the resolution 1287 required by state statutes. Operationally, there were some cost centers that required moving money around in the department but not adding additional money. For instance, if one particular line item in the department budget is over, we can take money from another line item in that same department to cover the cost. Overall, there's no change or increase in that department budget. Staff is living well within our means. Staff is requesting transferring funds from the city administrator contingency to cover an unexpected claim settlement, emergency network switch, and additional audit costs to the Administrative Services Cost Center. Staff is requesting transferring of funds from streets and alleys to public services due to employee being appropriated in a different cost center. Capital projects are a different story. This is not the news. This is not news to anyone since we knew that Riverview Road and South Federal the bids came in higher than what we anticipated, and the council approved those to move forward. As you can see from the spreadsheet, that the staff has cut back on projects that could be moved to future fiscal years. The other issue we had in capital projects was trying to determine what we had left to pay on a particular project since they were crossing fiscal years. Many projects were budgeted fully, and then we didn't pay out the retainage until the next fiscal year, which put us over. The money was there, but had to be carried over to the next year. In summary, operationally, we're living within our means. However, the capital projects, we have committed to are obligating our reserves from both a cash basis as well as a fiscal year budgeting process. As outlined in the budget amendment sheet, it is recommended that reserves be used to cover additional monies for capital projects. Staff is recommending approval of Resolution 1287.
Okay. The chair would entertain a motion regarding resolution number 1287.
Your Honor, I would move to approve resolution number 1287.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Your Honor?
Yes, Councilman Smith.
Yeah, I just had a question on page 29 of the packet on the spreadsheet with the sewer fund regarding the project the council approved at the last meeting on where that's exactly listed. We kind of did a Washington politics last meeting and voted for a project without funding that was supposed to show up tonight, so I'd like to see that 150,000 that we're expending on that sewer line.
Your Honor, would you like me to
Yes.
answer that?
If you would, please.
That is directly out of reserve, Councilman Smith.
Okay. Is it on that spreadsheet where the sewer fund is listed on the items there that are on the budget amendment?
It is. It is not listed as 150,000. The city administrator felt that it might come in more than that, so we budgeted 175 to come from reserves for that project. And it is called the Riverview Road Utility Improvements.
Utility improvements, okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Courtney. Okay, is there any other discussion? Okay,
Your Honor,
yes.
we asked this in pre-meeting, but we would like to know for sure that the retainage is covered and that we're not exceeding budgets. I'm pretty sure that when we set the budget, we didn't intend to move $1.3 million at mid-year. And so are our retainages still, or the reserves still in place at 18%?
Your Honor, right now they are. As of this moment in time, they are. But as I reported 2 weeks ago, when I looked at the cash report on a Friday afternoon and it was $388,000 in the water fund, and then on that following Monday it was 1.1. It's all about timing, it's all about cash flow, and you're absolutely right, Councilman Gard, that we are pulling a lot of money from reserves, and I'm more concerned about the general fund with the Riverview than I am about enterprise funds. We have a little bit of flexibility with the enterprise funds, but as you well know, the general fund relies heavily on revenue that you don't have any way to determine. So I guess what I'm saying is that the money is in the enterprise funds right now. In fact, Councilman Fabian asked me about the balance of the sewer fund, and I was just right on. It is 1.1 today, but tomorrow, I can't tell you. Sewer receipts are down, water receipts are up. That was because of the use over the summer. Those are things we watch. But again, we are watching it closely. I will give you a heads up that I feel that we may have to borrow funds for the water fund to get through those projects, because we are going to be using general funds for Riverview as well as the water fund. And the water fund right now today has $3.5 million in cash balance.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor regarding resolution number 1287. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor votes aye. Okay, reports and comments. Council committee reports and council member roundtable. Councilman Smith, would you lead off, please?
Sure. No reports tonight, and just want to welcome our 2 new council members.
I agree. Councilman Fabian.
I too would like to welcome the new council members and another thank you to everybody who put their name in the hat. We had excellent candidates, and I appreciate everyone who brought their name forward. I believe that the consideration for the RREC dollars will be happening this coming Monday, correct? Yeah, this coming Monday. So anyone who requested funds can be expecting a letter to find out whether or not we were able to give those out shortly thereafter. So be looking for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Gard.
Your Honor, I put on everybody's location. I do have, I apologize, there's one for the new council. This is a spreadsheet of the rec money that's come in. And there's a priorities list that's listed first, and you can read through that. These are all of the applications, all the applicants for the rec money. And the rec board will meet on the 10th and go over the recommendations through both committees. The priorities are the items that they feel like they need first. Some did not prioritize. And then the second column is the total amount that they're asking for as you go through it. And so I think that's just good information for the council so they know where that money's going if anybody asks them. Also, the Chamber of Commerce placed 4 new members on their board this last week, and I think that'll be a great help to Jim. He does a really good job and is trying hard to move that forward, and I think he's in line of doing a good job there. So I don't have any more to add on that. There is also a letter from the bar owners, liquor distributors, and there's a copy of that for the council. This is the prevention people have been having a seminar. I think there was 4 meetings that we attended. Councilman Baker attended, and Councilman Mary Ellen Christensen attended. The police chief attended. I really appreciate the police chief and his subordinates. I obligated him to some numbers and figures, and chief showed up and gave those really well. The bar association, liquor association dealers sent this letter in, and you can see the signatures on it. They don't want to be regulated any further than they are. And the prevention people forwarded that to me. I was out of town at the time. I believe Mary Ellen was there.
Yes,
And she could probably add to that. The only liquor dealer that is still interested in assisting them is Walmart. The other meeting that I had, and that was on the 27th, it was a code meeting, and I was really impressed with the individuals on the panel. Those individuals are Gary Burnett, John Dedamore, Bill Davis, Terry Betts, Gary Pfister, Eric Raymond, and Dave Lato. And those individuals have sat for many hours with Sandy and her team, and have done a wonderful job, I think, in getting the code ready for us to accept in the next few coming weeks. And Sandy's staff has done a wonderful job. The thing that impressed me with them is that they had some pushback on the code and didn't just swallow the whole thing. And I appreciate their efforts and their willingness to push back. Those are the meetings I attended, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Cannon.
I'd just like to appreciate the appointment, and I'm going to try to do my very best to get myself up to speed here as quickly as possible, so I can at least help out with the council and move forward.
Well, it's nice to have this vacant space filled here. I felt that there was something about my cologne or something that Councilman Christensen didn't like, so nice to have a warm body there again. Thank you. Councilman Christensen.
It is nice to have neighbors. I saw that picture in the paper the other day, and County 10, I thought, God, I look just...
look lonely out there.
Yes, it was way out in the outfield there. But, on January 24th, we had an airport board meeting, and it's a pleasure to say that Dean Peranto was elected the chairman of the airport board this year, so that was nice. We've already talked about Javiation. They were selected the engineers for the next several years. The one thing I would like to say is that there was quite a bit of talk at that meeting that the board really wants the public to know that they've made a concerted effort and emphasis to, as a board, to diligently work on trying to get better air service in this area. They really have. They've tried about everything. They worked with the airline that's here presently, and have done everything they can to improve that. They continue to do that. They currently have a meeting with YDOT to see what else is out there for them to expand, to improve our service in Riverton. So I just want everybody to know they really do a great job. They're trying the best they can with what they have now, and they are expanding their knowledge greatly here soon. So pretty much that's all I have on that. I would like to say something about the Fremont County Prevention Coalition meeting. I was pleased to see that the liquor dealers in Riverton have formed an association, banding together. I think that only shows that that is an industry. They're coming together to try to solve some problems, and I'm pretty proud of them. I think it's a evolving process, so everybody keep their ears open for, I think, some good things that they will do. I hope that will happen, and I'm sure it will. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Larson.
Time I was on a board, they handed me a ping pong paddle with a ball attached with a string and told me to go over in the corner and practice that till I grew up. Right now I'm looking for the ping pong paddle and the ball. I feel honored to serve, and like my friend to the right, I feel that I'm going to have to start running real quick, but I know where Brother Guard's office is, so I'll be down there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, mayor's comments. We better have a city administrator's report first.
Your Honor, just to update on our work session coming up. We've got the Volunteers of America coming to speak to us about some expansion opportunities they're looking at in their current location. And then we're going to have the Modelers Park Association talking about some areas that they're looking to expand, not out next to the Honor Farm, but down south, the Rendezvous Ponds. So that should be a good non-executive session.
Okay. Okay, mayor's comments. I attended the Fireman's Banquet the other night and enjoyed a good meal with those men and ladies. And I would just encourage anyone in the community that's younger than I am to join that group. They're looking for membership, and they just provide an outstanding and excellent service to our community. I know they're saving us literally millions of dollars if we had to go out and pay for that service and hire employees to have a fire brigade here. So I enjoyed it a lot. There was a lot of awards, a lot of good camaraderie. You could tell that there was a spirit of togetherness there, and they had some awards that I won't repeat over the TV this evening, which were kind of cute. But some of the experiences that they had while they were out fighting fires and getting their vehicles ready and running over radios and just all sorts of stuff just in their day-to-day work, and they all took it in good spirit and whatnot. So I would just encourage any young person that's out there that wants to find a home to spend a little bit of time, that would be a good place for you to look. So Chief Mike Hutchison did an outstanding job at the presentation, and I was just really impressed. So I wanted to throw that out. I asked them if they would give me some of the statistics that they gave out, numbers of fires they went to, and what the response time was. The response time is 3 minutes, which I think is just remarkable in our community to have the quality of volunteer force that we have, and will respond in 3 minutes. They spend 41 minutes on site as an average, and so we've got a wonderful team there, and they're deserving of all of our accolades. So thank you. Regarding the airport board, we brought up and have been discussing the possibility of putting together a task force to look at the needs of the airport and whatnot, and I didn't want to be premature or anything on it, and we don't want to leave the airport board out of it. It's my understanding that Mr. Weaver and I will be meeting with Mr. Pronto, the new chairman, and probably Jim Matheson, the previous and chairman, as well as Paul Griffin, our administrator up there, and to make sure that they feel comfortable with the direction that we're going. But this is a county-wide airport, and we all have a vested interest in it for it to be successful. And anything that we can do, if it's whatever this task force can come up with, then I'm certainly supportive of doing what we can to make it the success that it can be. We've invested millions of dollars in it. It brings millions of dollars into our community, and I think we just need to not worry about if it's Riverton's regional airport or if it's Fremont County's regional airport or whatever, but just make it as successful as possible for our entire county. And I think that's what we all want. So other than that, it's been an interesting time since I've received letters from the EPA, and I've received letters from citizens and phone calls and interviews and whatnot. So that is continuing to move forward. But other than that, that's about all I have this evening. It's my understanding our next agenda item is an executive session regarding personnel. The chair would entertain a motion to convene into executive session for the purpose of personnel, considering the appointment, employment, right to practice, dismissal, complaints, or charges against a public officer, professional person or employee in accordance with Wyoming Statute 16-4-405 AII, and for the purpose of considering offers, tendering wages, salaries, benefits, or terms of employment during negotiations in accordance with Wyoming Statute 16-4-405 AX.
Your Honor, I would make the motion to adjourn into executive session.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor votes aye.
Motion to reconvene into regular session.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor votes aye. I don't think there is any action that you need from this, so at this time, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn the regular council meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded.